Are you in need of some inspiration of how to bring a bit of a vintage countryside look to your home? Hello there, I'm Julie from Julie Davis Flower Workshops and Flower Start, the online flower arranging classes. I recently went to a decorative living fair in a beautiful setting of Everidge Park just outside Royal Tunbridge Wells. See if you can spot the two projects which I would think would make fabulous handcrafted DIY projects. There are lots of flowers to get inspired by, and if you're after a pared back English country house look with a little bit of a French twist, I think you're going to enjoy what you see. One of the first booths we came to was this beautiful one here with a stunning fresh flower display. I think the peonies are coral charm. There's some apricot coloured foxgloves, and look here at the front, the vintage bicycle filled with viburnum opulus. And of course in Jubilee year, some bunting. This one was made with the individual flags slid onto a piece of twine so you could move them around and adjust the spacing. Each of the booths were wonderfully styled, and I particularly like this one here with the grey cubby holes being a great contrast to the white ironstone. Off to the side, this fresh cut sign caught my eye, painted onto weathered wood with a stencil. And these labels here, I think it says they're apothecary drawer labels from France with the original studs in them. More grey shelving, and what particularly struck my eye here was not only the contrast between the grey and white, but also the bowl of lavender, the terracotta pot put inside a pudding bowl. At this point we're inside the loggia in the main house, the beautiful decorated ceiling and the windows looking out onto the terrace with a swimming pool to one side. As I pan down, you can see the lovely decorative mirror behind this display with everything grouped so beautifully with the overlaying of mirrors behind. You could do the same thing with pictures with enamelware, and then off to the side a bucket full of wild cow parsley. This would be so easy to replicate at home. If you didn't have access to a wild patch of cow parsley, you could always use gyp instead. Outside in the bright sunshine, I spotted these two short terracotta pots with a scrunched up chicken wire inside. I'm just trying to see what the price was on those. I think probably it was about £12. Back inside one of the marquees, I spotted these beautiful ranunculus, and as you can see from the sign on the vase, it does say beautiful. These lovely sashes that were stamped up to add as a decorative trim to tie around a vase of flowers, a bucket, or even a basket you might have at home. These sashes really grabbed my eye, and I think they would be something beautiful to inspire you if you wanted to create a handcrafted project of your own.
So this is the lino cut, which James carves, and it's to go round galvanised or planters or anything you want, really.
If any of these fabulous products catch your eye, you can find James and Joanna at jamesandjoannadesign.com. I'll also leave a link to their Instagram underneath the video. What struck me about this event was how many of the stall holders had used flowers, whether they be planted, fresh cut or dried, and it really made this event stand out for me. I particularly like this collection of vintage glass bottles in an old metal tin. And across the way, another enamel bucket filled with cow parsley, white peonies and the green chrysanthemum. And back across the other side of the marquee, cow parsley and beautiful pale delphiniums. It really was the signature flower of the moment. This was an indoors-outdoors event, and you can see stunning scenery in the background. We stopped off, of course, to have a cup of tea and a piece of cake practically as soon as we arrived. And I love this way this sort of village hall marquee was set up with trestle tables and arrangements of jam jar flowers lined up through the table. These were created by Charlotte from the Florist at Tunbridge Wells. Lovely blush colours, the peonies, sweet peas and the tiny pink of wax flower. We arrived at about 10:30 in the morning, and left about 3:30 in the afternoon and had the most fabulous relaxed day. It was such fun looking around all the marquees and the booths. Looking here at the lilac, another bucket full of cow parsley, cosmos in the background there, and more of the peach foxglove. One thing I did notice were loads of old-fashioned pin holders. Some of them I managed to get video footage of and some of them I didn't. A quick shot there of a pin holder before I moved on to look at the dried flowers in the next booth, these lovely pink straw flowers. And this is another crafting project, would be so fun, such fun to do. 2 sheets of paper, I think blotting paper, cartridge white paper, get your best calligraphy handwriting and then tie a beautiful silk ribbon to it. It was a lovely warm day, about 22 degrees C with a pleasant breeze, so perfect cardigan weather. I particularly like this booth and the display in this cabinet unit here, the blue and white jugs, the tiny liqueur glasses, with beautiful vintage flower paintings as well. I think these are peonies, and then across the way, purples of delphiniums. It's so pretty to look at. And then a book here of wildflowers. Out in the open we spotted this yellow cart, and what drew our eye was the lady who was demonstrating how to make these willow structures, who runs workshops lately, so I'll leave a link to her in the show notes underneath the video. When we sat down for our second cup of tea today, we said how lovely it was just listening to all the chatter in the background. A bit like when you go to the beach and you can hear the families play and the sea lapping. So it's a really lovely, relaxing shopping experience and a great place to get inspiration even if you didn't want to buy. These pickle jars being used to display oranges and lemons caught our eye, and then the orange geums behind. I love the texture of this wooden bowl with the saxifrage nestled inside. This gives so many ideas how you could display plants that should be in the garden, but bringing them indoors, more decorative effect. And then the Weigelia here with the pink blooms and the variegated leaves. And a glimpse towards the next set of booths, the lovely white display in the background, crock pots in the foreground, and another display of lilac which smelt absolutely heavenly. Across the back, what did amuse me, we had the beautiful smelling lilac at the front and then the white garlic flowers on the display at the back. So here we've got the white crockery against a white background, and you see off to the right there a pair of baby shoes. I noticed that in a couple of booths, little leather baby shoes being used for decorative effect. Stacked books, that's never been a trend I've previously noticed before, but I do notice it in lots of the American YouTubers' videos that I watch. It's obviously a trend on both sides of the Atlantic. Some transferware plates, another vintage flower pitcher, looks like some Marguerite daisies. Stunning lilac. Another booth had a lilac with a double flower in it, so it really was beautifully pretty. This display really caught our eye. It was a huge window painted green with glass fitted in the back. It looked absolutely stunning. And here are candles. If you think candles just being for winter time, you could bundle them up and put them down inside a pickle jar. There I am taking one more look at that fabulous green display. We were lucky enough to explore some of the gardens while we were here, with this bunting just marking the edge of the ha-ha, and that's the drop between the garden and the countryside beyond. Now I would love a cupboard like this on my patio to keep my garden paraphernalia in. Decorative items only, of course. Love the green thermos vase and this pretty green jug here with fresh flowers in it. Here's a grouping of vintage French jam jars, and I've got a couple of these at home, and I was quite pleased to see that £4.50 each, mine were very good value for money. across the way. The setup of these booths was just absolutely phenomenal, just so beautiful to look at. And on the whole, I would say that most of the booths had very muted colours. There's a picture of another booth coming up, much more vibrant, and it really did stand out. Notice the grouping of paintbrushes hanging down, the crocks here, one from Harrods. And then down on the shelf below is a vintage French wasp catcher. I'm not entirely sure how it works, but I guess you put something sweet at the bottom and the wasps fly down and then can't find their way out. Here's another painted cabinet with foxgloves in a metal plant at the top, another stack of books. And as I pan down, you'll see a green transferware tureen with a lid on it. And we did notice that where the lids were missing, the store holders had planted them up. They look absolutely gorgeous. You certainly know it's late spring in the English countryside with all this cow parsley. And it's lasted really well considering this is the second day of the fair. And off to the side you just get a glimpse of the green glass storage jars. And then the highly decorated plates, they got artichokes on them, and fresh artichokes off to the side as well. On the next stall I spotted another flower frog. This time a glass flower block in the amber colour. More of the cow parsley in an enamel jug, just catching the breeze. And here, this isn't a load of old rubbish, this is an antique French quilt. And the lady here, Liz Jones, was teaching workshops and showing how you can reuse old fabrics to create brand new works of art. These vintage seed packets caught our eye, and the display here, everything was a real dark denim blue.
Are they all the same? Yeah, they're all XI. How much they are.
Across the way was a booth by King John's Nursery and Garden, and this is where the lady from Crafty Basketry runs some of her workshops. Just love the collection here. Again, the vintage frame, a couple of vintage bottles. I did check the price of those, and I got a couple similar at home, and they were £6 each. And then white on white on white. How simple but beautiful does this look? And just goes to show you only need a few stems to create a fabulous look. I love the pop of yellow here against the blue. And this was the most colourful stand in the place. What you might think of garish and gaudy yellows in the marigold and the pansies, just absolutely fabulous. A basket of vintage rolling pins. Particularly like the shade of green on those hooks there. A bundle of rhubarb, so quintessentially British. Another vintage flower picture. And then a bread bin with bright red pelargoniums. And more flower frogs, this time the heavy metal pin holders, which she had had quite a lot of wear. I like the way that these pin holders were being used for decorative effect, but also practically something as well I think about doing at home. Perhaps to use my pin holders to display family photographs, or perhaps even pictures of your favourite flowers, postcards and things like that. A really simple but effective idea. Again here the collection of paintbrushes, flag from the Royal Navy. I liked here the way that the glass bottles were hanging down. There's a gap in the middle. I think probably some of them have been sold, just cut off their piece of wire. A really colourful display here too. Beautiful country flowers in the white jugs. Tulips which just come to the end of the season. The yellow buttercups. My eye was drawn to the milk glass vase with the hobnail detail just to the right of the picture. Here it is. With the purple columbine in it. I was so tempted by this, but there's nothing priced in this stall, and the booth owner had wandered off, so we had to circle back and came back at the end of the day, and they were priced at £12 each, which is a little bit more than I wanted to pay. In the next booth I spotted this pretty pink jug that was crazed, and at £12 I just thought, again, it's just a little bit out of my price range, but something that did catch my eye were these bottles here. So I did make a few purchases. You'll have to let me know in the comments what you think I bought from what I've shown you today. And just panning round at the end of the afternoon, and the feel was very much of an upmarket English country fete, and it was certainly something I think my friends and I would go and visit another year. So did you spot the projects that I thought would make really great DIYs? Let me know in the comments. And what about those flower arrangements? Are you inspired to have a go yourself? That's all from me for now, and I'll see you next time.